Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. As you can see from the title and thumbnail of today's video, today we're going to once again be talking about Andrew Torba, the CEO of Gab.com. And as you're going to see in today's video, Andrew Torba recently applied a purity test to Elon Musk, the new and current CEO of Twitter. Now, to show you what I mean by this, let's just go straight to Andrew Torba's Gab post that he made a couple of days ago. As you can see here on the screen, Andrew Torba wrote the following a couple days ago on Gab. As ye mentioned, Elon is not a Christian. He has no business running an American media company unless he repents and calls Jesus Christ Lord. 90% of our problems are caused by Zionists and their lapdogs controlling the media. We need Christian leadership in media or we will never get anywhere, period. So, you read and heard that correctly. According to Andrew Torba himself, Elon Musk has no business running an American media company unless he is a Christian. So, according to Andrew Torba, only Christians are allowed to run American media companies. Now, to be clear, I am not on the Elon Musk bandwagon. In fact, recently I put out a video exposing Elon Musk's hypocrisy regarding not allowing Alex Jones back on Twitter. I too believe that Elon Musk has no business running an American media company like Twitter, but it's not because he's not a Christian that I think this. It's because Elon Musk applies double standards in regards to who he allows back on Twitter, who he doesn't allow back on Twitter, who he allows to be on Twitter, and who he doesn't allow to be on Twitter. He has some major hypocrisy and double standards regarding that because he allows his emotions to override his logic and his reason, which is why I put out the video that I did. But Andrew Torba's standard is a purity test. It's the same standard that people held against Donald Trump back in the 2016 and 2020 presidential elections. There was a lot of people who would not vote for Donald Trump specifically because he was not a Christian. And what's funny about that is back in 2016 and 2020, Andrew Torba actually supported Donald Trump and was petitioning really hard to people to vote him in as president both in 2016 and in 2020. So according to Andrew Torba, if you're running for the office of President of the United States, it's okay to not be a Christian. But if you're going to run a social media site like Twitter, you better be a Christian, otherwise you have no business running the site. Optically, the double standards and hypocrisy that is created by this is incredibly bad and incredibly hilarious to someone like me. But if we apply Andrew Torba's standard to himself, what we find is that Andrew Torba himself has no business running an American media company. So, according to Andrew Torba, you have no business running an American media company unless you repent and call Jesus Christ Lord. And ideally, we'd be talking about the Jesus of the Bible. The problem is that by this standard, Andrew Torba is not qualified to be running an American media company like Gab. Why do I say that? Well, not too long ago, I exposed Andrew Torba for preaching a false god and a false gospel in his recent Christian nationalism book. And when you preach a false god and a false gospel, then you are not a saved person, and Jesus is not your Lord, at least not the real biblical Jesus. And of course, Andrew Torba worships a false Jesus because in the video prior to this one, I exposed Andrew Torba for falsely claiming that Jesus commanded Christians to rule over the world in his new book. He claimed in his book and in Gab posts that Jesus taught that Christians are to rule over the world with a rod of iron, and that this was commanded of us in the Great Commission. The problem in a nutshell with this is that when you actually read the Great Commission that Jesus spoke in Matthew 28, he said nothing to Christians about ruling over the world with a rod of iron. And when you go to the passages that talk about ruling over the world with a rod of iron, you find that the passages are talking about Jesus himself ruling over the world with a rod of iron, not Christians. So Andrew Torba proclaims a false Jesus, and he proclaims a false God and a false gospel. This means that Andrew Torba is not really a Christian, and he has no business running an American media company like Gab. Of course, there's a million other reasons why Andrew Torba has no business running an American media company like Gab, and if you want to see all of them, I would encourage you to go to my Gab censorship playlist that I have on Joshu TV, link to which is in the description box below, and there's all kinds of lovely reasons why Andrew Torba has no business running an American media company like Gab. But before we go, there is one thing that Andrew Torba did on accident. Andrew Torba accidentally and indirectly just promoted me and my social media sites. Why is that? Well, according to Andrew Torba, if you're not a Christian, you have no business running an American media company. But if you are a Christian, you do have business running an American media company, and therefore you should use the American media company, the American social media site that Christian owns. Well, yours truly is the one who founded Quarter, an open source alt-tech alternative to YouTube, a few months back. So because I'm a real Bible-believing Christian and I own and run Quarter, you should be using Quarter today. Same thing with Creation Social. On December 26, 2020, I launched Creation Social, which is an open source alt-tech alternative to Facebook. And because I'm a Christian and because I'm the one who founded, owns, and runs Creation Social, this means by Andrew Torba's standard, you should all be using Creation Social today. And of course, you can access Quarter and Creation Social through the links in the description box below. Andrew Torba applying a purity test to Elon Musk, to me, is absolutely hilarious for so many reasons. I mean, me and my dad have talked many times about how illogical it was to apply a purity test like that to people like Donald Trump, and how it was unrealistic to expect a non-Christian to think and behave like a Christian. And yet this seems to be the standard that Andrew Torba is applying to Elon Musk. Then again, if you read Andrew Torba's Christian nationalism book like I did, you know and you discover that Andrew Torba, in his Christian nationalist utopia, Christians hold all of the positions of power and influence and leadership in politics and media. So basically what Andrew Torba is doing here is he's not just applying a purity standard to Elon Musk that is completely unreasonable. He's basically trying to go full dictator now before he has any power and trying to get people to think and vote and behave in the ways that he wants them to. Andrew Torba is an absolute and utter tyrant, and I do not want him in any position of power over me. Hence why I created my own Facebook alternative and YouTube alternative.